Oh gosh, I hope I don't turn out so wrong in this situation. My husband Tom and I, female, have a child together, a male toddler. Tom has another child, Connor, a young teen male with his ex-wife. At the time of the divorce, I only met him 3 years later. Tom had a stable job that paid well, so the judge ruled child support for his son very high, and Tom had no problem paying. He visits on weekends. After 1 year of our son, Tom was fired and found a job that paid much less than the previous one. For comparison purposes, with the old salary, the child support took 30%, and the current one takes 85%. This created tension between us. I had to start working hard and twice as normal because Tom couldn't help almost anything at home, as only 15% of his salary was left after paying my stepson's child support. Even though I talked to him, he said he didn't want to downsize so as not to harm Connor, and I really tried to be understanding. I reached my limit when I had an accident, and I was out of work for 3 months. I'm self-employed and my salary has decreased by 95%. During those 3 months, we didn't go hungry because my sister helped. And if he was one day late in paying child support, Tom's ex would call him and charge him, not caring that we were tight. 2 months like this, I sat down with Tom and told him that our son had the same quality of life rights as his brother, which was not happening and was harming my health. The accident was due to stress, so it was his decision, but I would do whatever was necessary for my son to have a good quality of life. And it was time to realize that it's not possible to maintain this level of child support without interfering with the quality of life of his other son. He tried to argue, but he saw my point, and after 1 month of seeing this, the judge asked for a reduction in the value of child support. It was proven that it was far beyond what he could pay without interfering in his life and other kid. He fixed it to 30% of his salary. Since Tom has never complained about it, it's pretty clear that I influenced him, and his ex is texting me, saying that I'm knowingly lowering my stepson's quality of life, and that I should feel ashamed for doing this to a child. This is a pretty mess, and it's left to me like the monster who did this to a child. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The judge never said you need to keep up Connor's lifestyle, even if that means you're on food stamps or borrowing from others to eat, and your wife's working to exhaustion. That would be insane, and Connor's mom is way out of line for expecting that. Remind your husband that if you were divorced, he'd have to have the support reallocated anyway. Not as a threat unless you want it to be, but to remind him that he has a legal obligation to care for both kids under the law. Agree. If bio-mom and your husband were still married, the stepson's quality of life would have been diminished years ago. This is how life works. You shouldn't starve one child to keep the other in Gucci. He's letting you be the bad guy, so he doesn't have to be. It sounds like this would antagonize his ex more, so it's better for him if she thinks you're the bad guy. Well, I don't think you are. 85% of his salary is nuts. You did this to survive. You did this so your child didn't live in poverty. You did this so that CPS wouldn't take your child because you couldn't feed him on your own. You did the right thing. Your husband can't pay for what he doesn't have. Block the ex. There's no reason for you to communicate with her. That lady can help support her kid and work twice more as you did. I would have forced the issue much sooner. You aren't a monster. You're a good mom. I, 32 male, am child-free. Not because of childhood trauma or because I think the earth is overpopulated. I just don't like kids and don't want to invest my time and energy in raising them. I have an older sister, 35, and a younger brother, 28. My sister has 3 little kids. I moved out of our hometown when I was 19, so I've never lived close to them. When I visited during the summer, I was happy to take the kids out for a couple of outings, but I usually either had one of their parents or a babysitter with me. Now my older sister tends to dump her kids on anyone she can sucker. She's a stay-at-home mom, but the kids spend more time with our parents or brother. For years now, my brother would call to vent to me about her, about how she just dropped her kids off at his doorstep and left, and she wouldn't answer her phone, so that he'd be stuck with them for hours. I moved back 3 months ago, and from the get-go, she wanted me to set a room for her kids in my house. I shut her down hard. I also told her that I would not be babysitting her kids, not unless it was a true emergency and she couldn't find a babysitter. She thought I was bluffing. The first time she dropped unannounced to leave her kids, I didn't open the door. She said that she'd be leaving them and I'd be forced to act like a decent uncle. For kids, I don't blame you for not wanting to get roped into your crappy sister's free babysitting schemes, but I hope you'll keep being involved with your siblings and being a safe place for them, because it sounds like they need it. My older brother was married briefly, and it didn't work out. He recently remarried. She's 22 and he's 33. She's very pretty but very young. She comes off as younger than she is in her attitude. She also doesn't seem unintelligent per se, but she has a high school education, has never worked a day in her life, and doesn't seem interested in personal growth or education. She and my brother's detailed plan is to start having kids as soon as possible, ideally 3 to 4. She's right now a stay-at-home wife and will be a stay-at-home mom. They're already trying to get pregnant. My brother and I both inherited a nest egg when our dad passed away a decade ago, and our mom is well off too, but he makes a large salary personally. He has several properties and is a full-time landlord. I don't have a problem with her or with him, though I do think the maturity level seems like it would be an issue. I'm only 26, and due to this age difference, have always had trouble relating to my brother as an equal. He can be patronizing, etc. At best, a 22-year-old is equally mature to me, but she is a bit less mature since she's 4 years younger. So if my brother and I can't always relate as equals, it's hard to imagine her and him relating as equals. But like I said, she's not far from my age, so to me, she's more of a peer. And I don't dislike her, she's fun. And I'm not working right now either because, as I said, I have money from my parents and a small business on the side. I do recognize it's a privilege not to have to work right now. So we've been hanging out sometimes during the weekdays, like grabbing coffee or going to the gym. I was at their house after going to the gym with her, and my brother was there. While she was grabbing something from another room, my brother took a shot at me for being unemployed and being able to go to the gym for hours in the middle of the workday. I said, we're both going to the gym in the middle of the workday. Your wife is unemployed too. He said that's different. And I said, don't take shots at me for not working if you have a trophy wife doing the same. He got really offended and yelled at me. But in the process of him being offended, his wife heard what I said. Or maybe she overheard my comment, I'm not sure. She was upset too. But am I wrong for calling a spade a spade? Edit, I'm a gay man. When they have kids, they'll get a nanny. They've both said that. What is she, if not a trophy wife then? She meets the criteria. You are the idiot. It sounds like you and your entire family are a bunch of spoiled brats. Imagine calling someone out for not working when they don't have to, when you're doing the exact same thing. How about you call out your brother for being shallow and creepy, for going for an immature person 11 years younger than himself? Everyone's the idiot here, except the wife, who wasn't even involved in the conflict. Your brother's a condescending idiot, and you're an idiot for flipping it back onto his wife. Your whole web of rationalization around maturity levels is telling enough. You've been waiting to blurt that one out for months, and he's probably been doing the same. Poor wife is just caught in the crossfire of passive-aggressive judgmental idiots. Honestly, you all sound like pieces of work. Get a job and mind your business. Stop hanging out with your brother and his wife if you hate them. Agreed. OP, I'm sorry that your brother's wife doesn't fit your definition of womanhood, but by your admission, she's always been nice to you, right? Your conflict is with your brother, not her. Leave her out of it. Her husband brought her up and dragged her into it when he took a pot shot at unemployed people. What did he think would be the response when his not working, not child-raising, and fully able-bodied wife was standing right there? He's a total buffoon for that. I, female 30, have been dating my boyfriend, Smith, 39, for 8+ months. We had been planning to go on a road trip, but it couldn't happen because he kept insisting that we let his 2 friends tag along. He brought it up again and promised he wouldn't ask me to let him bring his friends with him since I'm paying for the expenses and it's my car. I always wanted us to go alone for once without having his friends tag along. I don't want to pay for his friends. We agreed that I'd come to pick him up in the morning so we could go. I came in my car and entered his neighborhood. However, when I saw him standing outside with his bag and his two friends were also standing there with their bags, I was shocked and furious. I didn't pull over. I just turned around and kept driving and went back home. I saw him running after me in the rearview mirror. He stopped and then started calling me. I didn't respond until I got home. He lashed out at me on the phone, asking why I turned around and left. I told him why, and how I didn't appreciate how he tried to force me to take his friends with us after I'd said no already. He called me awful and said I ruined the entire thing for us and acted immaturely and spitefully. He said I could have just accepted it how it is, but I told him that I would never accept being put into a situation where I'm expected to just suck it up. Finally, he hung up after yelling at me for a few minutes. I called back but got no response. He texted me how he was embarrassed in front of his friends and refused to speak to me till after I apologized. Am I the idiot for turning around in my car and going home? Did I make the right call? He's 39 and wants his girlfriend to pay and chauffeur his friends and lies to get you to do it, then accuses you of acting immaturely? That sound you hear is a giant red flag flapping in the wind. Run fast, run far, my friend. Your 39-year-old boyfriend doesn't have a car and can't afford to pay his own way on a road trip and expects you to foot the bill of his freeloading friends as well? Look, I don't know or anything, but you're dating an almost 40-year-old teenager. Mommy won't let me bring my friends on our trip, is all I could picture in my head. Now, an honest question. Is this the sort of blatant disregard for your wishes and emotions really what you want in a relationship? Because no matter how great things may seem, this is who he really is. Someone who's more concerned with getting what he wants than your feelings on the matter. He should be more embarrassed that at 39 years old, he can't go on vacation alone without his mates, and that he and his friends are trying to freeload off of his girlfriend, who's almost a decade younger than him, and clearly has her crap more together. Good on you, OP, for not allowing him to manipulate you. You are not the idiot, but I recommend running from this man. I grew up a foster kid, and I don't have the best grasp of normal family dynamics, so I'm not sure if I'm the idiot or not. Background info. I, 27 female, do not get along with my fiance's family. His parents have been rude to me from day one because I don't fit their ideal of what a nice girl should be, and my background is significantly different than theirs. His brothers and sister-in-law are also somewhat condescending about my work and lifestyle. After a particularly contentious holiday visit last year, I told my fiance I would be in low contact/no contact with his immediate family. I don't mind him visiting them or keeping in touch, but I won't. They can always be his family, but they won't be mine. If that was a deal breaker, so be it. He agreed that was fine. We're child-free, plan to elope instead of having a ceremony, and as much as I move around for work, we'll likely be thousands of miles away from them for most of our lives together. His brother and sister-in-law were in a car wreck last week, and they both ended up in the ICU. They have 3 kids under 10, and as my fiance's parents were at the hospital, and he wanted to be there as well, he asked if I would watch his nibblings at their house for a few hours, and possibly overnight, depending on how things went. I told him no. I'll be happy to deliver food, drop off anything he needs, and run errands, but I won't stay at his brother's home or be in a position to interact directly with his family. Besides the disruption to my work schedule, if it turned into an overnight deal since I have to get up very early, I doubt they want me there, and it sounds like a fight waiting to happen once the emergency is over. We went back and forth over it, but he ended up staying with them himself overnight and the following day. I dropped off clothes and food that night and the next day, but he just took them without speaking. The brother and sister-in-law will be fine, fortunately. When he got home, he told me off about not helping with his nibblings when the situation was so extreme. I told him I did help, just not exactly what he wanted, and he already knew my boundaries. He said it would have taken the pressure off of him and also been a good olive branch. I told him his family had already burned the olive tree and that they don't get to look down on me and still be able to call on me in a crisis. Doing the legwork I did was supporting him, and I just really don't care about them anymore beyond him. We're not arguing anymore, but we still disagree. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. These kids don't even know you. They needed to be with someone to comfort them in a crisis. So what you did was actually better for the kids and for you. You drew your line. These people have to have someone else they can call on in emergencies, or they've burned all the social capital being idiots to others, just like they are to you. You were right to maintain your boundaries. Exactly. They wanted a virtual stranger to greet 3 young children at the bus stop and explain to them that their parents were in the ICU. Absolutely insane request, when there were 3 close family members to watch the kids instead. As a mom, my main desire would be that someone is taking care of and comforting my kids. What I don't need is a ton of people sitting in a hospital waiting room. And I say this, having spent several nights in a hospital alone while my husband cared for my kids at home. OP is clearly not the person to be comforting kids she barely knows. It needed to be one of the 3 available family members. If you aren't good enough to be family, why are they asking you to be family now? I would have told them no as well. Family aside, I want anyone reading this to ask themselves if they would watch the kids of the people that were rude and crappy to you, emergency or not. I can say with absolute certainty that I would laugh at them for even having the audacity to ask. You could have done this favor for your fiancé, but you established very clear boundaries that he agreed to.